Hi, my name is Chris King. I'm with Nan Fung Development. I'm happy to have this opportunity today to share what Nan Fung Airside Project team have been working on for the last few years in terms of construction digitalization today. Today, we're going to talk about connecting multiple data points with Forge and MVC framework for better insight from a project manager's view. It's going to be about 20 minutes where I'll be going through a brief introduction of our project and Forge app settings for about 10 minutes. And for the rest of the presentation, I'll be demonstrating our web app. So let me start off by introducing a bit about myself. I'm trained as an architect and registered in Hong Kong, so I like making pretty things and aligning stuff by nature before everything gets technical. I'm also a full stack developer, which means I like making stuff with languages like PHP, JavaScript, and C# in my free time. I'm currently in the Nan Fung Airside Project team overseeing digital product delivery, working with consultants and contractors. Nan Fung Airside Project is a flagship commercial development in Kai Tak area. You may remember the news back in 2017 when the land bid by my employer broke the record of the most expensive land sale per square foot. GFA is about 178,000 square meters with 50 floors, including 4 basement floors, and is 200 meters tall above the ground. Main contract commencement was back in 2019, and we're looking to open in the fourth quarter of 2022. Airside Project was one of the first few projects in Hong Kong to go for level 2 live BIM collaboration back in 2019. Not only do we require contractors to submit shop drawings produced directly from BIM, we also specified all AIs in the main contractor's scope to be estimated using BIM before formal issue. All formal document exchanges were made on the BIM 360 platform, such as instruction issues and contractor submissions. For the digital work supervision system, we deployed Novate, which is one of the most popular products of its kind in Hong Kong right now, for inspections and defects tracking. And we also use Dalux Field App to verify site works against the BIM models using AR technology and to capture 360 photos. I assume most of the audience members today are in construction, and some of you may not be familiar with Autodesk Forge. Forge is a cloud development platform with a set of APIs to access, manipulate, and visualize Autodesk cloud data. It enables communication between different software platforms or services and Autodesk Cloud. For example, we can access the BIM models on the BIM 360 platform and visualize it in a custom app. And we can also update the Autodesk Cloud data from the custom app via Autodesk Forge APIs. Even though we did specify use of level 2 BIM with cloud collaboration on BIM 360, we did not have plans to utilize Forge for any workflows or project information management by the time when we were engaging consultants and even during tender stage. It is something that we just started during the construction stage out of the need to organize information from multiple data sources. Me and my team started looking into Forge and realized it is the best way to consolidate and organize project information and just started developing a tool. Learning to develop using Forge was easy for us. Anybody can create a Forge account for free and try for 90 days. And even after the trial period, you can still continue to use most of the APIs for free. All APIs we wanted for our use were still available for free after the trial period, so no additional cost was involved. By reading the online developer documentation page and following GitHub sample projects by Autodesk, we could quickly build something that showed potential to achieve what we wanted. Also, there are SDKs available for popular languages such as Node.js, .NET, Java, so we don't have to write code from scratch. We use Forge PHP SDK for server-side development, and of course, Stack Overflow is your friend when you're stuck in the development process. Autodesk team and other industry peers on Stack Overflow were more than kind to offer us help to solve our problems. What is MVC? MVC is a design pattern in software development introduced more than 40 years ago, so it's nothing new and now commonly used for web development. It separates an application into 3 main logical components: model, view, and controller. A model refers to data as structured information. For example, an architect's instruction is a model that has an issue date, subject, description of changes, affected location, and so on. And location, as in affected location, is another type of model with spatial hierarchy such as level, zone, grid, room, and coordinates. In an MVC pattern, a user sends requests. Requests are routed to a controller that is responsible for working with the models to perform actions, such as retrieve, update, or delete on the data. The controller then chooses the view to display and provides it with the model. The view renders the final page based on the data in the model. So what did we make using Forge and MVC pattern? We developed a web app for managing project data, tracking document statuses, and visualizing live model data with a PHP framework based on the MVC pattern. We mainly use Forge Data Management API, BIM's 360 API, and Forge Viewer to retrieve and visualize project data from BIM's 360 on our web app. And the web app is built with the Laravel PHP framework just because I'm familiar with it. We also wrote some C# scripts that synchronize our web app database with Novate and Deluxe databases. By consolidating project data on the web app with Forge and C# scripts, the live BIM models that are updated daily by the contractors became a more intuitive interface to navigate project information and improve checkability of contractor submissions. Traditionally, it is the project manager's role to connect the dots and understand the relationships between different data entries in a project. The data may be produced from different parties, saved in different locations at different times. The project manager knows where all these project files are saved, and whenever necessary, he pulls out these files from different locations and cross-reference these files to retrieve relevant information and insight he seeks. When talking about project manager's role, I like to compare the project manager's role to that of taxi drivers. To become a taxi driver in London, you have to pass the test called the knowledge, where you have to memorize 25,000 streets of London and business or landmarks on them, which takes years of study and experience to pass. It is called to be one of the hardest tests of any kind, which takes on average 4 years to complete. It is obvious that being a taxi driver demands more knowledge and agile decision-making skills compared to being a bus driver that runs on a fixed route. Every passenger has a different starting point and a destination at different times of the day. Project managers are just like taxi drivers. Instead of passengers, we have projects to carry from the beginning to completion. Every project is different with different building type, different programs, different KPIs, and different team members. We also have to make quick decisions based on the information we have at hand to take the best route to the destination. You can guess where I'm going with this analogy. We may not be able to navigate around the city like London taxi drivers, but with the technologies available to us these days, we can get around the city almost as well. Many navigation apps such as Google Maps or Waze can suggest the best route from point A to point B based on accumulated information in their platform, considering traffic situations and wayfinding algorithms together with the map data. By consolidating project data from different sources and establishing relationships between different models, we are able to gain better insight and make better decisions that will get us to our destination. Okay, so we want to connect the dots with our web app. Then what are the data models available to us in this project? We chose BIM 360 as the project common data environment, so we have all the project documents and live BIM models stored in BIM 360. Consultants issue tender documents, instructions, site memos, and etc. Contractors on the other side updated construction BIM models, submitted shop drawings and other submittals, plus any other correspondences. As I mentioned earlier, we use Novate for inspections and defects management, and Deluxe to verify site works using AR and 360 photos on site. It might have been easier if these apps were connected to BIM 360 natively, but we chose these apps based on its features and usability. By establishing relationships between these data models, we wanted to get better insight on the current project statuses that can answer questions such as how are the defects distributed in this area and which trades are those defects from? What are the AIs previously issued for levels affected by the newest AI we're issuing right now? And what are the instructions and memos issued in the room where we have the highest number of water damage defects? To get the answer to these questions, to connect the dots between these data items, we created a PHP web app based on MVC architecture. The architecture of our web app can be represented as shown in this slide. Novate and Dalux data entries are synchronized by C# scripts directly to our database tables. And BIM 360 items that represent project documents are either updated by C# scripts with BIM 360 API directly to our database tables, or sometimes called by Laravel controllers to display items in the views. And some of these views include Forge viewers that visualize project BIM models, which are updated by contractors every day. These synchronization of data entries to our web app is done on demand and at least once a day by automation. Okay, this is where I actually start showing what we made. We call this web-based document management system Airside Helper. The most fundamental function of Airside Helper is, of course, displaying project documents in BIM 360 and its statuses as updated by contractors. To control the access of sensitive project data, we can use Forge authentication. We didn't have to create a new authentication system for access control. In other words, if the user has an Autodesk account that has access to our BIM 360 project, he can access the Airside Helper pages. Once logged in, the user can see a sort of dashboard of all kinds of documents issued and submitted in the last 7 days, AIs, instructions, memos, other transmittals in BIM 360. These AIs and SIs and site memos are synchronized with Forge APIs, including document custom attributes in BIM 360 that are updated by consultants. And contractors are updating the model update status of each instruction on the web app. Our QS also participates in this process by updating whether an instruction is estimated or not, so we can monitor overall status of AI document workflow. As you can see in these tables of different types of documents, each document has relevant levels or even rooms marked. This means this particular instance of the document model has a relationship with a level model. A level may have relationships with many documents, and the Airside Helper lets you browse all relevant documents by location, whether it is a level or room. I can go to a specific level page and I'll be able to browse all relevant documents issued or submitted for the level. Not only do we have aggregated table views of PDF documents for browsing, we also have a list of BIM models in the project updated by the contractors. We can view the models directly on the Airside Helper on the Forge viewer, or of course link to BIM 360 viewer. In the table view, we can see the list of remaining BIM 360 issues added to the model as the contractors are working towards as-built model submission. Number of issues in these models will have to be 0 to be accepted as built. 5D BIM workflow is one of the important workflows we included in the main contract tender. We're not just taking off quantities at certain points of the project, but we're doing it during construction for every AI under MC scope. When the consultants prepare a draft instruction, the main contractor is required to submit an AI model for our QS consultants to process and estimate based on the changes in the quantities. Of course, there are some AIs that do not have any cost implication or cannot be quantified. So this workflow only applied to BQ items that can be quantified with models, and it accelerated estimation process and also enabled early model-based coordination with other trades. Taking the quantities of the model and applying the rates to get valuation is very easy, as we prepared modeling guidelines and naming standards for all the elements for contractors to follow so the models can be used by our QS. but doing it for every AI so we can estimate quick enough to get results that's useful for our project team was a challenge. I'd say it's like riding a unicycle and trying to juggle at the same time. In this project, our QS is estimating or evaluating the instructions based on delta changes from previously issued change instructions instead of completely remeasuring the works. Uh, so we had to identify first extent of works covered by the instruction, and secondly, previously issued instruction for the extent covered by the new instruction. This is actually why we started building the Airside Helper to record all the instructions issued, mark all levels affected by the instruction, and track the contractor's model update and QS estimate status for each architect's instruction. At first, we started using just Excel sheets to manage this, but soon we realized that automating the sync process between the BIM 360 instruction folder to database tables and adding relevant information on top of it, as well as building relationships with level models, made more sense. In the AI register page, we can see all the AIs issued and relevant data attached to it for tracking. Of course, these registers can be formatted in any way that we want to show even more or less information attached to each item. Contractors and QS team are updating each AI item to update the status on the Airside Helper directly. In the AI level history page, we can see in a pivot table format the extent of each AI on different levels, and by looking at this page, our QS can determine which model to use to quantify delta changes from the previously issued AIs. Now let's talk about something more visual and interesting. We've been collecting 360 photos and also, of course, standard photos on site to record site progress. And these 360 photos are mostly captured using Dalux, but of course, we can just add 360 photos directly to Airside Helper. We have a standard table format photo register and gallery type pages for browsing photos, but all photos from Dalux include location information in Hong Kong grid coordinates, so we can overlay them over BIM 360 published views from the live model. These photo models have relationships with level models, and we can easily browse photos by level and coordinates and any other data that is embedded in the photo, such as time and date of the photo that can be used to filter photos. In the level page for individual levels, all photos that have coordinates are overlaid at points where the photos are captured. Not only have we established relationships between photos and levels, we can also add relationships to any other models if necessary, such as instructions or rooms. Speaking of rooms, room is also a data model, one of the most important ones we use, that has relationships with many other models. On this individual level page, you can see that I'm displaying room text dynamically, both in 2D and 3D views. Because we have the coordinates of the room's center points in the database that we can overlay on top of published 2D and 3D views from the live models in BIM 360. We can check the basic room properties by clicking on the room tags. At the end of the properties table, you can see thumbnails of photos linked to this room. By clicking on the Go to Detail page, we can view the detailed room page for all rooms in the project. We have defined over 4,000 rooms in this project that are defined as a space confined by walls and assign room numbers based on numbering systems suitable for our use with Airside Helper and property management system in the future. In the individual room detail view page, again, we can see all the relevant documents and defects linked to this specific room. And we can see the published view of BIM 360 live models as well as 360 photos captured in the room. There are currently 3D view and CSV plan view published from the live Revit files for each room, And we can compare against the photos we capture on site to verify live models that are updated by contractors towards as built and improve the accuracy of models. We also have inspections and defects records from Novate synchronized to Airside Helper. Novate itself already has a few dashboards by default, but by synchronizing the data to our Airside Helper and querying multiple data tables, we can create our own dashboard suitable for our monitoring purposes. We made some defects dashboards using the synchronized defects data from Novate. And Novate inspection and defect records are based on rooms we defined that are the same rooms that we have in our database, so we can easily map these defects on published views from live model, both in 2D and 3D views, which gives us more visual representation of current defect status. This is about all that I had to share with you today with our document management system using Forge and an MVC architecture. Airside Helper is something we just started to manage instruction documents, but soon we realize there's much more potential benefit in other documents and files, and we just developed the system as we find more needs. Although the project is approaching completion and our integrated building digitalization platform will take care of much of the data update and retrieval needs for the property management team, we can still improve the Airside Helper system to help monitor document statuses, defects, and other workflows, or even for our next projects. To list out some of the potential improvements and additional features to the Airside Helper, we can bring more document workflows to the Airside Helper. We can use custom document upload and issue logic in the controller, so we can customize review and approval workflows completely within Airside Helper instead of relying on a third-party system, which we currently do, and better manage the project document standards. We can also add more relationships between models as necessary, and we can automate the estimation process by using Revit API and BIM 360 cost module directly from the models in BIM 360. So our quantity takeoff from AI models was done offline using Revit and Navisworks, as agreed with the contractor team and QS at the beginning of the project. But by using Revit API and BIM 360 cost module, I believe we can streamline this workflow even further. At the moment, we're still adding dashboards as requested by the project team, and we can probably add more dashboards as necessary to provide better insight for the team. And we haven't really utilized notifications in the PHP framework, but email or web notifications would be possible to give them daily or weekly updates. This is the end of my presentation on connecting multiple data points with Forge, and thank you for your attention.